From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Friday morning. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. Our top story this Friday morning, a Lodge Grass man is recovering after a BIA canine wouldn't listen to commands to release a suspect at a traffic stop. And a warning, this video might be disturbing to some, so we'll only show you a portion.
He was not even doing anything for a traffic signal.
This incident unfolded after Harris Red Star was pulled over for a traffic stop. The circumstances surrounding that stop are not clear, but at some point the officer deployed his dog on Red Star. Once he was handcuffed, the officer attempted to pull the dog off, but the canine refused to release its bite. At that point, the officer struck the animal until it finally released. Now, some are questioning if this constitutes excessive force. We spoke with the president of the Montana Law Enforcement Canine Association, who shared his reaction.
So the standard, and it's not just for canine, the standard for law enforcement is when that resistance is stopped, when you have compliance, then the force that is being applied needs to stop. In regards to, excessive force, that's going to be up to the agency that this officer is a part of to determine policy violations or standard operating procedures and things like that. That's going to be up to them.
Red Star was taken to a Billings hospital where his family says he underwent 3 surgeries. He is home this morning. The Crow Tribal prosecutor says tickets were issued to Harris and other bystanders, but he points out we don't know what happened before the video. The prosecutor said he does not know the reason for the traffic stop. Now it's time to turn our attention to weather. Miller joins us here on the desk on this Friday morning. We made it to the weekend. Yesterday wasn't so bad. Are we going to have another not so bad day?
Well, we're slowly getting in the wake of a cold front, so it is going to dry out, but maybe the temperature's coming down just a little bit. Don't quote me on that. I mean, it looks like we may get down into the low to mid 90s for some today, and I know we're all like, yay, low to mid 90s considering what we have ahead of us, but we are going to warm back up. A live shot across Yellowstone County right now. It is hazy out there, light to moderate smoke. We're expecting light surface smoke as we go along today. That could thicken up a little bit as we get into the afternoon. We're going to go with fair in terms of our air quality for your Friday. 68 right now at the airport, humidity at 49%. Winds out of the west at about 8 miles an hour. Now let's crunch those numbers. Our high yesterday got up to 96, so about 7 degrees above average. Our overnight low above average as well. Let's talk about the rainfall. Only trace amounts here yesterday, but it got windy. I was on my back porch yesterday and about knocked me down some of the gusts from an outflow boundary for some of the thunderstorms. We'll show you that here in just a bit. Gusts over 51 miles an hour, but not a dent really in terms of our rainfall for the month and for the year. And it's not good news in terms of the drought monitor that came out yesterday. Either you're unchanged in your area or it's degraded just a bit. Outside of yesterday, that should be about it in terms of our rainfall, maybe by the middle part of next week. But right now it's not looking too good as we get ready to stay hot and stay very, very dry.
Gosh, again, here we go again. All right, Miller, thank you for that update. I'll keep updating folks on the news.
Okay.
We do have some good news to share on the Red Lodge firefighter who was severely injured while battling the Harris fire near Joliet. Dan Stephenson underwent his second successful surgery. Doctors are working to remove all of the burned areas except for his face, which will continue to heal on its own. Stephenson does have a touch of pneumonia, but overall his recovery is progressing in a positive direction. His family says they are so overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support everyone has shown. The Montana National Guard has been mobilized and will respond to wildfires across the state. 2 helicopters and 24 soldiers will be on active duty in the state for the next 15 days. 1 helicopter crew will be based in Helena and another will operate from Billings. They'll set up shop in a hangar at Billings Flying Service. The National Guard also hopes to begin leasing that space to use full-time by 2022. Officials say with just 1 facility in Helena, Montana has one of the biggest gaps when it comes to military aviation support.
Being able to have air support here or have a presence here would really ultimately be able to help support our community in some cool ways. So we'd be glad to be part of that with the National Guard.
Before the partnership between Billings Flying Service and the Guard can move forward, an environmental assessment will need to be done to make sure all U.S. Army standards are met. There will also be an opportunity for the public to weigh in soon. Advocates have filed a class action lawsuit accusing the state of Montana of failing to meet the requirements to provide Indian education for all. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has a closer look at their claims.
The ACLU and the Native American Rights Fund filed suit this week on behalf of 18 public school students, 11 parents, and 5 Montana tribes. They say there's not enough consistency in how school districts across Montana are handling Indian education for all.
What we have are some schools that are doing a fabulous job of implementing Indian education across the board in public school curricula, and some schools that simply aren't.
The lawsuit was filed in State District Court in Cascade County. In it, plaintiffs accuse the Office of Public Instruction and Board of Public Education of failing to establish and enforce clear standards on how schools must comply with Indian education rules. Montana's constitution includes a provision committing the state to recognizing Indian culture and heritage as an educational goal. OPI distributes about $3.5 million a year to school districts for Indian education for all. Under state law, that money can only be used for Indian education curriculum, materials, or training. But the complaint said many districts don't provide details on how that money is used, or don't report spending all of their allotment.
That means that we have millions of dollars of Indian education funding that's unaccounted for.
The suit also points to Indian education for all spending that plaintiffs don't believe meet the requirements, including one district that bought a book described as saying, quote, "The actual hero of the Thanksgiving was neither white nor Indian, but God," and another that apparently purchased a book on marmots that had no connection to tribes. Plaintiffs want the state to establish clear standards for how districts report their IEFA spending, and they want districts to face accountability if they fail to use that funding for what is intended. A spokesperson for the Office of Public Instruction declined to comment, saying it's the agency's policy not to comment on pending litigation. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
The Montana legislature established the Indian Education for All program in 1999. Montanan Tracy Stone Manning's nomination to head the Bureau of Land Management is advancing to the Senate floor for final approval. MTN's Mike Dennison has more on the contentious vote and debate that cleared the way for her final confirmation.
All 10 Republicans on the panel, including Montana Senator Steve Daines, voted against Stone Manning's confirmation, saying she had lied about her role in a 1989 tree spiking incident on an Idaho forest.
Tracy Stone Manning collaborated with eco-terrorists. She lied to this committee, and she continues to harbor extremist views most Americans find reprehensible.
She wrote the letter. She admits she wrote the letter, and she said no. That is a lie. It's a falsehood.
They're talking about a letter Stone Manning admits she typed and sent to the Forest Service, warning it of the tree spiking which was carried out by others. She later testified against them at a federal trial in 1993, leading to the conviction of 2 men. Daines, however, said Stone Manning is not to be admired for that testimony because she only did so after facing possible prosecution and being granted immunity.
And that Ms. Stone Manning obstructed a federal investigation for many years. And rather than bring criminals to justice, Ms. Stone Manning assisted and helped evade them for years. For years. Ms. Stone Manning came forward only in 1993, 4 years after she was originally investigated by the FBI in '89, because she'd been caught.
Democrats on the panel, however, said she'd been honest about not planning the spiking or taking part in it, and that she has a long professional record of working closely with all parties on conservation issues.
And her reputation until this confirmation hearing was impeccable. I am disgusted by what has happened in this committee. Disgusted.
Daines' comments about dishonesty also prompted this rejoinder from Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders.
That your campaign sent out a statement that said, quote, "Dems are stealing the election. Trump needs our support." Is that a true statement? Let's be honest. When we have people in this room who are undermining American democracy. By the way, Mr. Daines, did Joe Biden win the election or did Trump win by a landslide?
Democrats said the opposition to Stone Manning is really about opposition to the Biden administration's plans to chart a new course for energy development and management of public lands. Despite what looks like a unified Republican opposition, Stone Manning's confirmation is going to the Senate floor. where it looks like Democrats have just enough votes to approve it. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Montana's Democrat Senator Jon Tester called Stone Manning a tireless advocate for public lands. He said he looks forward to her bringing common sense to the BLM and acting as a nonpartisan steward of the lands it oversees. Turning now to the latest on the pandemic. Even with the highly transmittable Delta variant spreading, the CDC is staying with its guidance that fully vaccinated people can go without masks in most indoor settings. The agency says Americans who have not received COVID-19 shots still need to wear a face covering. This as White House health officials note vaccination rates are going up in states being hit hardest by the variant. Today's the day, a year overdue. The Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympics will finally officially open with the streamlined ceremony. CBS's Laura Podesta has details on what we can expect and the athletes already making history.
Better late than never. Today in the year 2021 is the official kickoff for the 2020 Summer Olympics. Women's basketball star Sue Bird and baseball infielder Eddie Alvarez were chosen as flag bearers for Team USA. First Lady Jill Biden is leading the U.S. delegation at the opening ceremony.
Congratulations. Becoming an Olympian is a rare accomplishment in a normal time. But you did it during a global pandemic.
Like all the competitions, the stands for the opening ceremony will be mostly empty. In addition to COVID's negative impact, the games have also been hit by some controversies. An opening ceremony music composer resigned after it came out he spoke to a magazine about having bullied classmates, including those with disabilities. And an opening ceremony director was dismissed for appearing to make Holocaust jokes as part of a past comedy act. New York Times Tokyo bureau chief Motoko Rich has covered the missteps.
The organizers are probably hoping yes, win some medals so that we can draw attention away from all these scandals.
Team USA's Simone Biles recently showed off her signature vault in training with none of the usual spectators because of COVID restrictions. Daily cases in Tokyo have reached a new 6-month high of nearly 2,000. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
And here's a live shot of the arena getting ready for those Summer Olympics, of course, delayed like we just mentioned, and athletes going without an audience this year, which has to be, I'm sure, quite odd. Several U.S. athletes have had to withdraw from the game for COVID-related issues, including tennis star Coco Gauff, men's basketball player Bradley Beal, and beach volleyballer Taylor Crabb. One of Billings' longest-running cultural events, the Mexican Fiesta and Car Show, is set to return tomorrow. The event brings thousands of people to South Park each summer for 66 years with traditional food, dance, music, games, and even a vintage car show. 70-year-old Bill Contreras has served as chair of the Fiesta for nearly 2 decades. He says the event is a celebration of family and a chance to honor deep cultural traditions of the past and present. Just ask him about the traditional meal that's served at the Fiesta's centerpiece each year.
And it smelled so good, you know, even if you had just eaten those tortillas and those beans and whatever else they were cooking, really, you know, brought you to, you know, that fullness of life, I guess you could call it, you know, looking back on it that way. You know, this was life for us that way.
Be sure to tune in tonight at 5:30 here on Q2 for more of reporter Austin Amestoy's conversation with Contreras. He'll have details on how and when you can catch the festivities as the Fiesta arrives tomorrow morning.